Hello everyone, this is Mancy once again, and it's been a while since I've done a movie review. And of course, yes, I've just turned 31 years old on March 24th, 2023. Which of course, yeah, you could tell by the beard and the haircut and all. And no longer have this useful teenage appearance, but hey, maybe I still am. But anyway, without further ado, as I said in my review of the 2016 Ghostbusters movie, I did say I hardly talk about movies I don't like, because I review positive review movies. Well, there are some exceptions, such as Jurassic Park 3, which was okay, and the 2016 Ghostbusters movie, which it sucked. But now I'm about to review another bad movie, but this time on a popular video game. And that is, my friends, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, the live-action version. Starring Bob Hoskins, John Leguizamo, Dennis Hopper, Samantha Mathis, Victor Stevens, Fiona Shaw, Richard Edson, with film composer Alan Silvestri, with production designer of Blade Runner David L. Snyder, and it's written by Parker Bennett, Terry Roonett, and Ed Solomon, who wrote Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and, of course, Men in Black. And it's directed by Rocky Morton and Hannibal Jankel, which they have never made another movie after making this, which I'll get to why. This ain't no game. Which, yeah, it ain't. But it's not a blast, which I disagree by the Washington Post here. So, and to give you the little history here, yes, I actually have grew up with the Mario games, especially I played Super Mario 64, which I find a very fun game to play. It's one of my favorite Mario games I've ever played. I love Super Mario Galaxy, I like Super Smash Bros. So, yeah, I actually do remember the Mario games pretty well, especially on Game Boy, as well as the one on NES for my Uncle Mikey here. So, and of course, yes, I know there's been many adaptations of Mario and live action for television, and there's mostly for cartoons. But then, of course, finally, when it entered the 90s, it was probably the time to do a movie that's based on a popular video game. In the 80s, there's never been any movie-based video game adaptations, but there were movies about video games. Movies like Tron, The Last Starfighter, War Games, and The Wizard, which had Super Mario Bros. 3 in it, as well as Cloak and Dagger. So this is like a big deal in the 90s. And I know that I write a lot of scripts to give you the backstory about these movies here, but this one I thought I could know it by memory. Because from what I understand, that the producer, Roland Jaffe, was inspired by the movie Batman, directed by Tim Burton. Especially, they were taking other well-known properties that give it that dark and gritty approach, like Dick Tracy, Ninja Turtles, the first one, directed by Steve Barron, and many others. So they thought they would try to tackle on a very successful property made by Nintendo. And of course, there have been other directors involved, one of them being Harold Ramis, which of course I do recall that his kids were like fans of the video games. And then there's been numerous actors to play the part of Mario Luigi, like Danny DeVito or Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Tom Hanks and Michael Keaton for the roles of Mario, Luigi, and Koopa, until they settled with Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo and Dennis Hopper. And then, of course, for the ones that you all know about, that this film had a troubled production history, that it was like a nightmarish experience, especially for Dennis Hopper, who calls these directors control freaks who don't know what they're doing and what the movie was going to be like, and rewriting script and so on and so forth. And then Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo were drinking shots of alcohol just to get through the painful experience to ease them up a bit. And of course, Bob Hoskins, of course, pretty much hated this film because he was asked by 3 questions and he answered the same answer for the movie he's known for. What is the worst thing you ever done? Super Mario Brothers. Which film you regret doing? Super Mario Brothers. If you had a change that you would never do, what would it be? I would never do the Super Mario Brothers movie. And those were Bob Hoskins' answers. But of course, with Leguizamo, of course, as time went on, when he encountered by fans at conventions, he started to soften up a bit on the movie more than he usually did back then. So yeah, it was like a trouble movie. And of course, yeah, Super Mario Bros. Came out on May 28, 1993, just a couple of weeks before the release of Jurassic Park. But when Jurassic Park came out, Exactly, just like that. They just forget about the Super Mario Bros. Movie, as it only grossed 20.9 million US, which brings it up to 38.9 million worldwide, and gets its 42 to 48 million dollar budget. So it was pretty much like not a very well done adaptation on how well you do a video game be turned into a movie. So even I will admit, I actually did grew up with this movie as a kid. Especially I do remember, I think vaguely when it used to be on the Disney Channel or something. I don't know, but I do remember this movie. But of course, especially as time went on, I've been hearing nothing but negative things about the movie, and I pretty much dismiss it like everyone else does, of course. And then, of course, yeah, till then when my brother Jonathan got a copy of some on DVD, which of course is a non-anamorphic widescreen DVD with no bonus features from Hollywood Pictures, the company that brought you The Sixth Sense and Judge Dredd and The Rock and many others. I had to give this movie a look, and yeah, it is a bad movie. It really is. But however, as time goes on, I am a little soft on the movie, but not really, but because I don't love it. I don't think it's a great movie, but I do respect that this film itself did had much of an impact on everyone else, and how this film was able to develop a cult following, which of course it had a website called the Super Mario Bros. Archives. And then of course they had to talk to numerous home video companies to get this like a Blu-ray release, which you had to get one from Second Sight or Umbrella Entertainment, if you could find one that's region free. And now, of course, now they're working on a 4K restoration with the visual effects supervisor Christopher Woods to be involved to give it a good-looking transfer, maybe updates in the effects. And then, of course, during that time, they actually released a cut that's supposed to be closer to the director's work for what they had in mind, called the Morton Jangle cut. You know, sort of vein of the Snyder cut of Justice League. So, now, is it one of the worst movies ever made? It is, but it's not like the worst movie of all time, because I've seen movies, like I said, that are worse than the Super Mario Bros. Movie, especially if you compare it to like the Uwe Ball films where he made movies based on games like House of the Dead, Blood and Rain, Alone in the Dark, Postal, Thunder Seas. Those were like god-awful movies. And of course, yeah, you have something like Dragon Ball Evolution, which of course is based on a manga. That was bad. So yeah, I think you see it's, well, this is a bad movie. It's not the worst thing I ever seen, because there are some things I can appreciate about this film. I get to start off with the positives. One, you have Bob Hoskins, which of course I do remember him as Eddie Valiant and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and here in this movie, he really is Mario. He really is. Which of course, yes, I know that people are a little iffy on the casting of Chris Pratt as Mario, especially they're not so sure about it, but hey, I have faith that Chris Pratt could do well. And of course, yes, I can't forget that I am reviewing this movie, because not only this movie is 30 years old, but I'm reviewing this movie because of the new Mario movie is coming out on April the 7th, which I'm looking forward to. Which, of course, that one looks like it's going to be more faithful to the games than what this one did. So, but anyway, as I'm saying, Bob Hoskins, he is excellent as Mario. I really love him every minute of it. And he was like the one who's actually trying his hardest. He's not like phoning in. It's like you really buy him, and he's definitely like how Mario should be. And John Leguizamo, I will admit, I was not really a fan of him as Luigi, especially he really lacked the mustache. But of course, as I watched the movie many times, I kind of noticed he did have a bit of a mustache, but not really. But yeah, the more I watch it, the more I let it sit through as years go by, I start to warm up to it. So I actually thought John Leguizamo about Hoskins do work out each other very well. And Samantha Mathis is fine as Princess Daisy. I thought she does well. But Dennis Hopper, of course, which I know that he really did not have a good time making this movie, but of course I found out the history of it, that the reason why he did this film so that he'd get new shoes for his son. But his son says, "Dad, I didn't really need the shoes that badly." So, yeah, he only did this movie to get the new shoes for his son. But other than that, Dennis Hopper is a terrific actor, and he is having a blast with his role as Koopa, aka the live-action Bowser. which of course the design of him is based on like what Morton Janko did called Max Headroom, which you can tell by the design of him. No, I never saw Max Headroom. And the production values, well, they are pretty good to look at, but at the same time, you can't help but keep comparing to the work of Blade Runner here, which, of course, I do agree with Oliver Harper here. It has nothing to do with the world that Mario has done, which, of course, I know they only did it for a reason, because this is sort of like, it predates the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, when you take things that could happen in real life, but although I think Christopher Nolan did a much better job with those Batman films than what this one did. And the effects, there are some good practical effects there, especially for Yoshi. You know, Yoshi looks more like a generic-looking dinosaur here, but at least the animatronic looks pretty good. And the CGI, there could be some that are pretty decent, but there are some that are pretty much like, yeah, they show their age. Which, of course, when you have something like Jurassic Park, they're, like, timeless in my book, and they still hold up the best. Which, of course, I think that film outshines the Super Mario Bros. Movie. And I actually do like the song Almost Unreal by Roxette, which of course originally it was meant to be in the Disney film Hocus Pocus, which makes more sense, especially if you listen to the lyrics. I like when you do that Hocus Pocus. So I felt like that song should belong in that movie than being in the Super Mario Bros. Movie. And it's not really a total bore. I mean, the movie itself, it is watchable. So it's like you can just put it on in their background, or you just watch it for what it is. Because it is a time capsule of the 90s, and it's a fascinating film that how many choices were done wrong with its direction. I mean, it is a very ambitious film, it is, and it's very ambitious to take on a well-known source material, and then you make it something totally unique and different. Which, of course, Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of the Mario games, thought it was entertaining, but felt like it could have been an entertaining movie itself, rather than just being a little bit too close to the Mario games. And of course, the A negatives in the film, the movie barely resembles anything from the game, other than you have to find some of these clever Easter eggs, like Mario and the missing girls from Brooklyn going through the tunnel, and then you have the swamps that are like attached to those like those boots they wore, and then you have the Baban, which resembles like one, except it's wearing Reebok, and it doesn't take away the Mushroom Kingdom. It doesn't take away any fantasy world at all, especially like that new Mario movie. It takes place in a fantasy world, but somehow they have to take it in a Blade Runner world-like setting. And the story, to me, it's like not one of the greatest, especially like you had to get this odd backstory about when dinosaurs rule the earth and the meteorite strikes down, so goodbye dinosaurs. With the voice of Dan Costello as Homer Simpson trying to explain everything, how it goes from each dimension is splitting up into two, going from Manhattan to Dinohattan. And of course, the animation is pretty bad. And the jokes, I mean, there could be some that are funny, but mostly it just comes out as being flat. And the tone of the movie is very inconsistent, especially like it doesn't know like it wants to be like a dark take on Super Mario Brothers, or does it want to be like a kid's film. It's just like it's like watching this as a mess. But as far as this is a mess of a movie, it's very fascinating to watch. So, yeah. So, yeah, like I said, it's not a great movie, which I had to agree. But it's really, I guess, not that bad at all, as people say. Because there are some things I could appreciate. I mean, I will give the filmmakers credit for taking a risk on this idea, even though the whole idea doesn't really work, but at least they tried. And of course, they did have a vision, but unfortunately, their vision was never brought up. Of course, I did check out that WordPress version called the Morton Jingle Cut, which is supposed to be closer to what they had in mind, as the restored 15-20 minutes of the footage, where it adds more of the subplots of between the Mario Brothers against the Scapelli Mafia, and then you get some character moments in the movie, and even, of course, that piece of payoff, which, of course, they do show that. Although, even when I watched this cut without the payoff, I guess to me it does make it somewhat kind of funnier, because the payoff is like no payoff at all. Sir, your piece is here. Not now. Looks like I win. Which, that to me just makes it even funnier than the payoff. And of course, yeah, even when I said that there are some moments that do get laughs at me, but mostly I only get laughs at from unintentionally is from Dennis Hopper himself, because he's the one who's giving more of the laughs than any other humor that this movie has to offer. You know what I like about Mud? is clean and is dirty at the same time. My goodness. Iggy Spike here, they're just there just for comic relief, so what can you do about it? So, but hey, they're just there. And Toad, they pretty much just like get that guy's name and he turns into a Goomba who has a small head and a big body as opposed to a big head and a small body. So, but yeah, I mean, everything you said about this movie has already been said. Everyone knows about the history of it. They know how bad it is. But of course, today people like to defend the movie. But I can't get mad at those, and I can't take away for anyone who happens to like the Super Mario Bros. Movie. But if you like the movie, great. All power to you. But to me, I just don't think it's that good. But at the same time, at least I appreciate for at least trying to attack something unique and different with it, even if it's not well executed. It tries to be a darker take, but it was definitely what James Rolfe said in his review. It was misguided. So overall, for my rank of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, the live-action version, I'm going to give it a C-. Not the worst thing ever, but it's definitely not that good of a movie at all. So, but anyway. So that's my review of the Super Mario Bros. Movie. If you are a fan of this movie, please let me know in the comments below why do you like this movie and why you appreciate how different it is from the video game, and then have this be a movie of its own. So, yeah. Feel free to share. And also, let me know what you think of this video. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Let me know. Feel free to put your comments down below, and don't forget the subscribe button. So, thank you for watching. Take care, and as always, trust the fungus. Thank you, and good night.